Welcome to In Her Own Name, where women stop whispering their greatness and tell the power of their own stories, with your host, Lillian Obogo. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever in the world you are, and welcome to another episode of In Her Own Name. Now, people, I have a woman who not only fascinates me on one level in terms of the work that she does, who she is, her sheer presence, but it's also her journey from homelessness to sitting on some prestigious boards and chairing boards that have been in existence for over 200 years. Now, this show has one function, and this is where we have women who are guests who are here to share their stories of leadership, how they refined it based on their own terms in their own name. So, join me and welcome my incredible guest, Deirdre LaBassiere.
Thank you, Lillian. Thank you
Hello.
so much. Hello.
How you doing? So let me go through just a bit of your bio with you and just share what I found out. So, folks, I want you to sit back and I want you to actually get to know this woman. She is a governance strategist, legal expert, a change maker with over 20 years of experience across health, housing, corporate and nonprofit sectors. But what makes her leadership unforgettable is that she fuses compliance with compassion, accountability, and cultural change. And in the beginning, I mentioned that she has chaired some prestigious boards, such as the Lunar Society, which she was telling me about briefly before we started the show. So, for those who don't know, Deirdre, what is the Lunar Society?
So the Lunar Society is an organization that is a think tank and it's steeped in 250 years of history. So it was set up originally by gentlemen who met by the light of the moon, hence why the Lunar Society. They would meet once a month at a historic house in Birmingham called Soho House.
Okay.
And these men were the fathers of the Industrial Revolution. So
Wow.
you had James Watt, Matthew Bolton, Josiah Wedgwood, Samuel Galton. So there were some with questionable engagements and some who were absolute heroes.
Wow. So this is incredible. And also, not only did you sit and chair the Lunar Society, you also chaired the national organization called Weights. What is Weights?
Yes, Waits is an organization very, very close to my heart. So I currently chair Waits. Waits stands for Women Acting in Today's Society. It's a 30-year-old women's empowerment organization. It was set up originally to support women into education.
Okay.
However, we found that there were women who were experiencing domestic abuse. So we started to house those women.
Wow.
And then it's now morphed into a very holistic organization. So we provide everything from counseling, legal advice, to dancing, to any support that we can. And we are now on a journey of really embedding the housing offer.
Right.
And we're hoping to provide women with homes that they can buy so that they
Nice.
can really truly feel secure in their own spaces.
Oh, this is beautiful. Yeah, I take my hat off to you. You know, when I met you, I was just impressed, but this just actually finding out your story is actually just it blows me away. And speaking of when we met, you wore this beautiful pearl necklace, which was
I
passed
should have worn
down.
them today.
I know, passed down from your grandmother. You shared the story with me at where we were at that photo shoot and what it, so can you share that story a bit more and what it means for you to carry her legacy into spaces where you lead?
Yes, absolutely. And those pearls actually give me a lot of strength. I really should have worn them today. So my grandmother was in the Biafra War in Nigeria. And my grandfather, being the romantic gentleman that he is, he wanted to give her something that she could always have, particularly if they ended up being apart because of the war. and she loved pearls. So my grandfather bought her these pearls, and these pearls have stood the test of time and they've been handed down through the generations. So they were handed to my mother, and my mother handed them to me. And I think you'll find if you were to Google me and you see photographs of me, you'll find that whenever I'm in a space that I feel that I need that little bit more encouragement and that hug from my grandmother, that ancestral fortitude, you'll
Mm.
find that I'm wearing those pearls.
I like that term, ancestral fortitude.
Hmm.
Yes, we need to walk into spaces with our ancestral fortitude behind us. I like
We
that.
do. We
We
do.
do,
We do.
definitely. You know, you know, we are just uncovering some of your story right now, and you know, all your experiences to now being a fellow of the Lunar Society. What parts of your story still catches you by surprise when you reflect on where you are today?
Gosh, all of it. What catches me by surprise. So I know how to abase and I know how to abound. So I grew up privileged. My grandfather was the Lord Chief Justice of Grenada,
Right,
and my father was a very prolific businessman and entrepreneur. So I didn't grow up with lack.
right.
However, when I came to the United Kingdom and I I had a relatively good life, but then I had some challenges with whom my mother called my husband. So there were challenges in relation to him. And then the circumstances that ensued were particularly difficult. So much so that I ended up homeless and I ended up with an illness that, by definition, at the time would have resulted in my death.
Oh,
But
wow.
here I am today.
Yes.
So, but I think those particular years, which I call the troubles, the significant feelings of unworthiness that I felt and that I believed was such that I genuinely did not think that I was good enough for
Mm.
anybody or anything.
Wow.
It was bad. It was really, really bad. So I think now when I look at myself and that I stand in the integrity and the authenticity of Deirdre, that's I suppose in a way it does surprise me. It surprises me that I made it. Whitney Houston sang that song, I didn't know my own strength.
Mm.
I didn't know that I had the strength that I had in order to make it through to get to today. I didn't know that I could be that woman who, regardless of what happened, regardless of standing wanting to end it all in front of a train track,
Oh, wow.
because I genuinely didn't think that I was worthy enough to even raise my daughter, to the point where now this photograph that's behind me is my daughter's graduation photograph from Cambridge University.
Nice.
So it's a beautiful surprise. And I think what I've learned is that God has a way of giving me beautiful surprises every day in every way. So those are that's just one of the little surprises that I think I'm surprised at with my journey.
And I think that's a very beautiful surprise because the impact in of the world is so much better with you in it. And
Oh,
I am so glad that you found that strength to still be here with us. So thank you for making those decisions. We have to say it.
oh,
You
thank
made
you.
those decisions. And what I love is that you often talk about governance with soul.
Yes.
And normally when people think about governance, because it's not, you don't think about it having a soul. You don't think
No, you
about
don't.
governance. No, you don't think about it having a soul. So, what does that actually look like in practice, especially when so many systems are built on outdated or exclusive models.
Yeah, absolutely. I think governance with soul is all about coming out of exactly those shadows of those systems and those models. It's about standing in the authenticity and the authority of yourself in terms of your self-governance, and then leading from that soul, your mind, your will, your emotions
Right.
to the people to whom you're serving. And that's about really being very clear about vision and mission and values and creating that framework so that you can govern really effectively. So for governance with soul, we're talking about governance with S as a stewardship, O is ownership, U is understanding, and L is legacy in motion. And I had to, in order to get from that place where I was there to where I am now, I decided that I was going to take the same frameworks that I was utilizing for organizations, and I was going to apply it to myself, and then I was going to apply it to the way that I lead organizations. So with stewardship, for example, I really honor what I am stewarding. What do I have in my hand?
Yeah.
And how am I stewarding those resources? And that might also be when I think about me and my ancestry as well, I honor what came before so that I can really boldly shape what comes next. With ownership, I really fiercely and fully inhabit myself, my roles, my capacity, my capability. And then I go on to the you so that with every decision, I seek to understand and center myself with conscious equity and with truth with all that I'm doing. So I seek to really understand and get under the hood in
Right.
terms of the decisions I'm making. And with legacy, believe and I walk in this truth for me is that I'm unlocking doors, not just for myself, but for
Hmm.
every single voice that has ever been silenced and every single leader that's yet to rise. So for me, governance with soul is about life with integrity and the leadership offering that people can give to themselves and then to organizations and then onto the world.
Right. Okay. Leadership governance with soul. Now I like
Governance with
that.
soul.
So, so I'm looking into the work that you do and looking at how you represent and what you represent. So one of the things you've described moments of visibility and leadership as radical, especially as you say, as a Black woman in governance. What do you want younger leaders from underrepresented backgrounds to understand about their right to take up space?
Oh, yes. No, they need to understand that they are living that right in motion by the very fact of their existence and the very intelligence of their being. They need to understand that they can fully inhabit those spaces and those places.
Nice.
They need to look into the mirror and understand and appreciate that they are powerful, that they are, as Maya Angelou says, whether it's for Black young leaders, they are the hope and the dream of the slave. For anybody, for any race, any gender, because of who you are, because of who came before you, and you are what legacy feels like. So it's not just about sitting at tables. It's about, taking the shape of things, changing the shapes of things. Everything's possible, and they just need to hold on to that.
Absolutely, and I absolutely agree with that. And one of the things I actually love saying when I walk into rooms where I find myself in a room full of women who look like me and are, lacking confidence or feeling like they are not enough, the one thing I say to them is, I need you to remember that you're the culmination of your grandmother's and great grandmother's high streets right
Oh
now.
my gosh, yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think the thing is as well, what I've found, especially with women, is that we don't always have to be loud for loudness sake,
Yes.
to go into the rooms. One thing I've always done is that I bring my full self and I bring my full authentic self. And I will speak as I speak. Sometimes there have been moments where I have done a West Indian stoops in a board meeting for a
Down the West Indian
occasion.
what?
Stoops, and you go,
Oh, you've kissed your teeth.
because girl, you bring your full authentic self.
Sometimes that is basically, I mean, that crosses borders because people can understand that they don't need that translated.
Yeah, exactly. It's cultural.
Oh, wow.
So you have to not be afraid. You
To
have to not
show
be
up.
afraid. You just gotta bring yourself, bring yourself with your all your values. All we have to go into the margins with purpose. We've
Mm,
got to just go in with the soul, go in with the strategy, and go in with the justiciability of ourselves at the center.
right. I love this. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And that is something that not just for the younger generation of leaders who are coming up, but I think it's a good reminder for all of us that we need to walk into those rooms with our full self in
Hmm.
in tow and being able, because most of the time as women that we've found ourselves in certain spaces, we've had to code switch, we've had to shrink to
Mm.
fit. And the problem with shrinking to fit is that we shrink away the parts that make us truly authentic, truly unique, and truly the differentiator who comes in with new ideas. But when you shrink to fit, you cut out what makes you.
Absolutely. I think we have to remember that we always live in a choice. And we have to know that we have nothing to fear, nothing to fear. And even if your heart is beaten out of your chest, which it has for me on several occasions, even if your mouth goes a little dry, just take a bit of water, take a breath, put your stomach in, put your shoulders back, put your head up, and you just say what you've got to say. And even if your voice is shaking, you've said
Say it
it.
anyway.
Exactly.
Mm,
Exactly.
I absolutely agree.
Mm,
I absolutely agree. Now, on the show, we talk about in her own name, we talk about the power of naming yourself. So here, this part of the show, we're going to talk about not waiting to be appointed, but to own your own space, which you've just so rightly
mhm.
spoken about. And can you share a moment when you knew you were fully in your power, when you led in your own name?
Gosh. When I led in my own name, I've been realizing this for a while. I think, I mean, going back to the Lunar Society, I think it was probably that first time when I led in my own name to be the first Black woman in its storied centuries long history. It wasn't just a title for me, it was a turning point.
Mm-hmm.
And I was stepping into a role that I was stepping into my name fully. This was
Right.
Deirdre LaBassiere, publicly, unapologetically, standing at the helm of a society that had been shaped by great thinkers, reformers, revolutionaries. And I was already one myself, and now the whole world knew it.
I think
And
that's a beautiful moment.
yeah, it was. It really was. And I think it wasn't just because I was the first Black woman, but because I knew exactly why that mattered. I
Mm,
brought the ancestors with me. I brought the future with me. I felt like I was bringing the fire and the faith that kept me going through years of challenge and misogyny and racism that I'd experienced
mm,
in the time that I've been in the UK leading up to that. All those years of building and serving and surviving and leading, and it was for the first time in a long time that I stood in a space where I was not made to feel like I should shrink or that I needed to translate or negotiate my presence.
Mm,
I, Deirdre LaBassiere, was the room. I, Deirdre LaBassiere, was the shift.
yeah.
I, Deirdre LaBassiere, was the living conscious of a society that had once not included in, whether by design or by default, people like me in the
Mm,
room. So for me, it wasn't about me asking, how do I fit? I was saying, what has to change now because I'm here and everything has.
absolutely love that. I love that. You weren't trying to fit in. You were saying, here's how you're going to change to accommodate me.
Absolutely. And
Yes.
others like me.
Yes. I'm not sure what to say after that, other than it must have been an incredible feeling for you. It must have been such an honor, especially at the time, because when you became chair after that lockdown happened and then the George Floyd incident happened. So I can only imagine the work that you had to do with the
Mhm.
society to be able to pivot so quickly and really make that impact.
Yeah, there was a massive amount of work. I held a series of Black in series. So we did Black in law, Black in health, Black in the arts, Black in culture. It was just Black in series. And I invited everybody to the conversations. And we had some really significant policymakers, influencers, change makers who came to those discussions
Mhm.
and then went back into their organizations and made change. And we
Mm,
really fostered some conversations that were not happening at the time and also that people were afraid to have because people were like, oh, I don't want to offend this person. I won't do that. And then, of course, with the pandemic, I realized that we also were an organization that were able to help people to try to make sense of what was happening and
okay.
to have that open dialogue and also offer solutions and to have the opportunity to speak to the change makers, to the politicians, to the millionaires, to the people that would normally frequent the Lunar Society, but other people didn't feel that they had access to.
Right.
So I created that bridge during COVID so people could actually speak to each other. So the people who were responsible for making the changes got to hear what people wanted on the ground, and we married the two. So that was really powerful. And I'm just so grateful that I got to be in the position to be able to support that change. And thankfully, I mean, I had some really good people around me as well who helped to that engagement to happen. And I'll always be eternally grateful to the people who said yes to come to speak at these events. It was just, yeah, it was incredible.
Uh, I can only imagine the impact that must still be felt right now from just creating those situations and those bridges because, like you said, people that they would never have had access to, you gave them a voice, gave them the floor, and gave them the room. So that I can only think about the impact in the way going forward would have changed the society and changed a lot of lives.
Indeed. Yes, indeed. It has. And it's humbling. It really is. I'm just grateful. So grateful.
As you should be. Now,
Mhm.
looking at your journey so far and how far you've come, the period of troubles, as you called it, what would you whisper or shout to your 18-year-old self?
Oh my gosh. I'd say, Dee, you made it. Oh my gosh. To my 18-year-old self. Oh gosh. I would just say, you did it. You've made it. A lot of what happened, you didn't expect to happen. And I'm really, really proud of you because yeah, you got through it and you're beautiful and you're really intelligent. Your kindness has actually been your superpower.
I love that.
And yeah, and I really love you. I love you, Dee.
Ah, that is so beautiful. You should actually go tell yourself all of that in the mirror after
I
this.
will. My grandmother used to do that. I always said that she was my first motivational experience. Because
Wow.
grandmom would sit in the mirror. Her name was Anis, and I actually named my daughter Anissa after her. And my
Nice.
grandmother would sit in the mirror and she'd go, Anis, I love you so much. Anis, you're so beautiful. And then she would try to get me to do it, and she would square my shoulders, and then she would on her use her hands to straighten my face, and she'd say, "Look yourself in the eyes." And it's hard to look yourself
It
in
is,
the
listen, it
eyes.
is the hardest
It's
thing
hard. It's
to
hard.
do.
It's hard. But she would say, "Tell yourself that you love yourself." And I actually remember one night when I was going through the troubles, and I had been out, and I had been to work. And I wore pearls to work. This is me. My friends tell me I'd be like pearls and jeans, pearls in work. So I wore her pearls, and I'd come back, and yeah, that was a particularly difficult experience when I got back home. And later on that evening, I still had on the pearls, and I was looking at myself. I thought I remembered her, and I thought, I'm going to say this to myself. So I was like, Deirdre, I love you so much, but I couldn't quite connect and I couldn't quite believe it
Right.
because of the what I had been hearing about myself from this other person. But then because I was wearing the pearls and the thought just flashed into my mind, don't cast your pearls before swine,
Mm.
lest they trample upon them. And then the other thought came, you are a pearl of great price. And I can't say that was the exact moment that I decided, yes, I'm going to leave, but it was a pivotal moment. And I think in that, I've learned as well in my journey in life that sometimes, just like pearls on a string, you have one pearl and then you have another pearl and you have another pearl, that I'm recognizing my pearl moments that
Mm.
strengthen me. So that was a pearl moment that strengthened me on my journey in this life.
Oh, nice. I like that pearl moment. I like that phrase. You come up with some beautiful phrases during this show.
Thank you.
So we're coming up to a wrap, and I want to first of all say thank you very much for being on the show and sharing your wisdom, your journey, and your journey to leadership in your own name. So I want to thank you for doing that, and I'm really glad that I got to have this moment with you. I have two more questions to ask you.
Okay.
The first one is, what are the two truths or tools that will help women, from your perspective, lead as their most authentic, unapologetic selves?
Oh, oh gosh, the two tools
All truths.
or truths.
Yes.
I think that they need to remember that when you forget who you are, return to why you're here.
Mm,
So it's about what are your core values? What truly matters to you? For me, it was my daughter. She was my raison d'etre. So I'm leading for, what am I leading for? Not just in. And there was a moment where I had to ask myself, what am I betraying in order to belong? And whether it's in a marriage or at a workplace or with friends or even with yourself, what might you be betraying? So having that reminder that authenticity isn't performance, it's alignment. So you lead from your values, you lead with your whole self, even if your voice shakes. And the other is that we are queens. So you don't borrow worth, you sit in worth. You are
right.
not an imposter. I'm sick and tired of hearing this imposter syndrome. You're not an imposter in your own life. You are yourself, you're sovereign,
Mm.
and you've got to understand that that's the truth of who you are. You are authentic, you're undeniable, and that's the truth of it.
I am both humbled and in awe because when you said, when you forget who you are, you have to remember you why you're doing this. That in itself is like, it in itself is a moment because sometimes we have to go back to what is bigger than us when we
True.
forget who we are. And that What are you betraying to belong? That's a
Mm,
shift that most of us need to hear because that betrayal of self, that in itself is almost unforgivable.
But saying that, you have to then still have the capacity to forgive yourself.
Yes, the grace.
You've got to give yourself grace. You've got to give yourself grace. It's okay. It's okay to fail forward. It's okay to forget for a moment. That's okay.
Yeah,
But you've got to remember so that you don't betray yourself.
absolutely. All right. That is, listen, if we ended there, that would have been perfect. But I have one more question
Go on then.
to close us out, and I promise I won't do a Columbo with one more thing. Uh, what has been bringing you joy lately, even if it's something small or unexpected?
Ooh, gosh, my daughter always brings me joy. She is just the most incredible human being that I've ever met. And I can't believe that she's my daughter. Watching her rise in her own right and knowing that she carries her own strength, which is just augmented by her faith and by that ancestral fortitude is incredible. Another thing that's been bringing me a lot of joy is that I'm finding myself laughing really deeply.
Mm.
And I'm doing that with friends, with women that I walk beside in faith and in purpose and in truth. And I'm laughing myself. I'm dancing out loud in my spaces. And that's really bringing me joy. And I think the last thing is that God is literally saying yes and meeting me in every space and place that I'm asking and giving me some beautiful surprises along the way.
Oh, I absolutely love that. That's beautiful. That
Thank
is
you.
absolutely beautiful. So, Deirdre LaBassiere, I want to say thank you for being on this episode of In Her Own Name. Folks, I'm going to say I will share all her links and her details so you can get to know this woman a bit more. You can connect with her on LinkedIn and where she shares some of her stories and just even the work that she's doing. So please reach out, find out more about her, but most importantly, take the lesson from this show. You cannot betray yourself
Yeah.
in the quest of speaking and allowing the imposter to speak for you. You are a queen, so remember your own worth. And when you forget who you are, remember why you are. Your why. So, Deirdre, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Lillian. I've absolutely loved this time. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. All right, guys. So, till the next time, you know where to find us on all the socials and connect with us and tell us what you thought about the show. It's also going to be on all the places that you listen to your podcast from Spotify to wherever else. So, guys, I am so glad to have you here and thank you for listening to us today. Bye. Thanks for listening to In Her Own Name. Step into your week lit up, aligned, and fully you. If you are enjoying this podcast, share it with your people. Don't let them miss out. And connect with us on all places social.